Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I am Barbara Smith, the 31st District PTSA President, and we will be recording this meeting. So if you want to go ahead and stop your video so that your face isn't shown on my screen, you're more than welcome to do that. You will still be able to see everything that I do and still be able to hear everything that I say. You are all muted as you came in, and Kimberly Armato, I am very lucky to have a part of this meeting is our past 31st District PTSA President, and she will be helping out with the chat box. If you have any questions while we are going through our presentation, she might jump in during that. If it catches my eye, I may swing over there and try and answer those questions as we move along. And just one more time, I want to introduce myself. I am your 31st District PTSA President. This is my second year of a 2-year term. At the district, we have 2-year terms. And at the unit level, you have 1-year terms, which you have the opportunity to do a second year if you are reelected into that position. Sometimes there's a little confusion going, I thought I got to do 2 years. You are more than welcome to do 2 years. In fact, we encourage it because now you have that industry knowledge from year one. But you do have to be reelected into that position by your association. You have to give the people their voice. I'm going to go ahead and share screen on my presentation here, and let's see if I can pull it up so that you can see what I see. And wait for the start. All right. Let's see if I can pull up. Where's my chat box? There we go. Put that over there. Welcome and thank you for joining us. You are part of the 31st District PTSA. You are also part of your unit. We have units, 110 units in the 31st District PTSA, and each one of those units belongs to a council. So there are 6 councils in the San Fernando, Sunland, and Tujunga area that your unit belongs to, and then each of those councils belongs to the district, and then the district belongs to the state, and the state belongs to national PTA. And that long-winded explanation just is, if anybody asks you why PTA, it's because you're not alone. We are here for you. When I sit in on meetings with LAUSD, I do so with you sitting right next to me. They don't have to talk to 110 different PTA presidents. They can just talk to me, and then I share that information down with them. And then you share your information of your specific unit needs up, and then that's kind of one-stop shopping. And we are very lucky to have that. Now, let's see. Minutes make the meeting, the role of the secretary. I have to be honest with you guys. I've been presidents at the unit, council, and district level. I've also been a variety of other jobs. Secretary is my most favorite position. I love being the secretary. It is the coolest job ever. And I'll tell you why. Well, here are some things that you need to know about writing. Avoid alliteration, always. Prepositions are not words to end sentences with. And these are funny if you are a grammar geek. One should never generalize. Comparisons are as bad as cliches. Be more or less specific. Sentence fragments, eliminate. This is all just good writing. Don't worry about it. No one is grading your minutes. There's not going to be a little red, well, there'll be a little red marker. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. However, you are just recording what is said, but you are not a court reporter. Look at all this. You like this, lady? This is your world. You're taking minutes. You're opening up mail. You're cutting out cutouts for your kids' elementary class. You are running a household. You are working a full-time job. It doesn't have to be like this, though. You can delegate some of those things out. It should be a little bit more like this. This is how we picture ourselves. Have you ever seen those pictures of, this is how the world sees me, this is how I see myself, this is the reality? Okay, your responsibilities. Attend training. Ta-da! You've already done it. I've got 16 of you, and I'm super excited about that. The next thing on your to-do list is you need to find the previous secretary of your unit as soon as their term ends. Now, you've been elected into your position. I want you to understand what that means. It means you are the incoming board, but the current board is still doing business. They need to wrap up their year. So you need to find out who the secretary is and make arrangements to see her or him this summer and get their binder, get their minutes book, get any other written material, electronic material they have. You need to kind of do a high-level review of it so that you know what has already happened. And then from that point forward, you'll keep concise records of your unit. You are actually, well, I've got somebody texting me saying they can't get in. I'm going to stop for just 2 seconds and send them the link so that they can get in. Copy and paste. You gotta love technology. And this is why I should not be looking at my phone, because now I'm off my track. You gather your materials from the previous secretary, you keep concise records. I'll come back to it. Corresponding secretary, chances are your unit may or may not have one of these. There are also financial secretaries. We are just going to look at secretary as one job, not 3 jobs. If letters need to be written, you would be the ones that would write them, but you would do that under the direction of your association, your executive board, your PTA president, and your principal. You would never send anything out that hadn't already been through the review process of all 4 of those entities. Here are your responsibilities. You will send out meeting notices, which means you're going to need a copy of the membership list so that you can send out emails saying, hey, don't forget, we have an association meeting on Thursday at 3 p.m. You're going to read all of the mail that gets sent to you. You might be one of the people who opens up the bank statements every month and reviews it so that you can see if everything is, you compare that bank statement to your minutes. Was there a motion to write a check for $300? Was there a motion to when the committee for the fall festival said we deposited $800, was there a deposit for that? And then you would sign off on that. Our insurance now requires that a non-signer, which the secretary is by definition, reviews your bank statements. You may or may not be that person. Your auditor might be that person. But you are part of the executive board and you have a fiduciary responsibility for all of the funds that go in and out of your PTA. So it is your responsibility to know where that money is and if it has been recorded appropriately. Right? Letters, file letters. You will keep all of the records of your PTA. And you are responsible to make sure that they get passed on to the next secretary. Can it be a lot? Yes. This poor woman. These can be electronic files. Once upon a time, everything was in paper, everything was handwritten. I recognize that we are now part of the 21st century, and some of us like to text, some of us like to tweet, some of us, minutes are more than that, but it doesn't have to be this. What to bring to every single meeting? A copy of your bylaws. I've just done the president training, we've done the treasurer training, and tomorrow we do parliamentarian training. You need to have a copy of the bylaws. If someone hasn't given you a copy of the bylaws, you need to ask for the bylaws. Everything you need to run a PTA is in the bylaws. I want to be really specific about that. Get a copy of the bylaws. The bylaws are important. What is important? Bylaws are important. They will say when your meetings are, what day of the week, what week of the month. They will say what your membership dues are. These are going to be tools you'll need to be a well-informed member of your PTA. You're going to want the minutes from the past meeting, because if Susan stands up and says, I don't remember approving the fall festival, you'll be able to pull up August's meeting minutes where the calendar of events was approved by the membership, and you'll also have a calendar of that the calendar of events there saying Fall Festival approved by association. Here's the motion. Red pen and pencil. Okay, here's where the corrections come in. You're not going to get a letter grade, but if Susan's name comes up, and well, I'll come back to that actually, and she would prefer to be referred to as Sue or Mrs. Smith, fine. Quick cross out with the correction there, and then your minutes are submitted as corrected. When you give your report, you will share the minutes with the association, and they need to have a written copy of those minutes. You will share the minutes with your association, they will review them, and then they are either accepted as written for audit or accepted with corrections for the audit, okay? You need a membership list. You're going to keep that with you, and you're going to want your membership chair to give you an updated version of it every single month, and you'll need that for voting reasons. Now, 99.9% of the time, the only people that come to PTA meetings are PTA members until you get to your elections, and someone at the school wants to stage a coup. So they gather up 6 of their dearest and nearest, and they bring them to the meeting and say, we're all voting for Susie to be president, and we want to get rid of Alice. Well, that's lovely, but Susie and friends all have better been PTA members for a minimum of 30 days. We find a lot of, if the minutes are electronic, do we need to show crossouts or revisions? Technically, yes. Most people don't know how to put a line through things in their word processing programs, but you can just correct them. Again, there's no PTA police. This is a secret between you and me. There's no PTA police. If you go in and make the correction and it is approved by your association, then those are the minutes as they stand. I would prefer you actually do the line in a hard copy so that you have that correction on file just in case anybody calls you on it. But again, no PTA police. Paper for ballots, again, hardly ever happens. 99% of the time, every motion that comes up is going to get, would you excuse me for a quick second? Hush, please. I'm working from home. 99% of the time, all of the motions that come up before your association will be passed, but not always. And we respect the right of a minority to be heard. So if somebody is against a motion, let's say, let's have the Fall Festival this year. I move we have a Fall Festival this year. And Susie steps up going, you know what, it's just a ton of work. I don't want to do it. Fine. We respect the right to hear her position. And then Alice steps up and says, you know what, the Fall Festival brings us in a ton of money. Great, now we've heard Alice's perspective and Susie's perspective, and you check the crowd. And if 6 more people raise their hand, and again, your president's going to be handling all this part, but if 6 more people raise their hand saying, we want to talk about the Fall Festival, okay. All of those who want to talk for over here and against over here. If you have 6 more people that want to talk for, don't worry about them. Clearly, the for has been presented. You take the vote. And if a vote is close, you're going to need some paper, scrap paper, no big deal. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Back of a napkin will work. You need the agenda in advance, and this will help you do your minutes. If your association loves you, they will present their motions to you in writing. Your committees will come present their reports at the meeting. Let's say the Fall Festival Committee is coming to the PTA Association meeting to say, we met 3 times, we're going to have games, and we're going to have food, and we're going to have prizes. We move to request up to $500 to pay for prizes and food for the Fall Festival. If they love you, they will already have that in writing, so you don't have to scramble. If they don't love you and you have to write that out, because it is important that whatever they say, you specifically put in the minutes. The motions need to be an exact wording of what your committee has asked for. Someone will second it, the president will manage the vote. And then you write motion failed or motion adopted. If the motion fails because it doesn't get enough votes to pass, then it fails. If the motion passes, if there are enough votes for it, it is adopted. So those are your two terms to your motions. I move we do yada, yada, yada. Motion adopted, motion failed. You do not include the discussion. You do not say Alice got up and said, oh, we don't like apples and we don't like oranges. And Susie says, well, we don't like Alice, because that could be taken out of context later on and it might hurt Alice's feelings or Susie's feelings. All right, so here is a motion blank, and I will make sure that you get a copy of this presentation and you can just download it and put Sunshine PTA or Darby PTA or Nobel PTA or whatever PTA you want to put in there. I move to host a fall fundraiser, my name and date, okay? We were not raised in a formal group, in a formal society. We don't have tea at 4 o'clock and we don't use 3 forks every time we sit down to dinner. That's who we are in California. Robert's Rules of Order can be cumbersome for people who are not accustomed to it. And let me tell you, I've been doing PTA now for 12, 13 years, and I still stumble over and look over at my parliamentarian who has 38 years of PTA experience under her belt, and I go, do I have to do a motion for this, or how do I phrase this? We work together. Again, why PTA? Because you have other people to help you. So if your community, if your unit, if the people in your association are not comfortable with this more formal format, they can just stand up and say, I move we host the Fall Festival, or I move we host a pizza night. Your minutes should include the name of your association, the kind of meeting, and the kind of meetings you will have are either a committee meeting, an association meeting, or an executive board meeting. Those are the only 3 kinds of meetings. Date, time, and place. And you can pre-fill that out before me. I apologize. Let me get the agenda back up. Internet connections. You will have a sign-in sheet at every one of your meetings. You don't have to retype that back out, just staple it to the back of whatever you've got going on so that you know who was at that meeting. Disposition of minutes. You will keep track of these in a hard binder. You will, a 3-ring binder, something you can paste them into, or you can just keep an electronic Google file. You will get from your treasurer a statement of accounts and a list of the approved bills for payment. So your treasurer, again, the treasurer will know what their report's going to be because they're going to have a written treasurer's report. So they should take the time to write out their motion. I move that we pay the bills with checks number 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. You shouldn't have to write that out. They should be giving you that motion, and then you'll just copy it straight into your minutes. Summaries of reports. Again, I want to stress this very carefully. You are not court reporters. You're not going to record in your minutes. Susie says she likes blue napkins, but Alice said she really liked the green napkins, so we decided to go with the yellow napkins. Nobody cares what the color napkins are. The Fall Festival stood up, they gave a report, everything's on track, there'll be napkins at the meeting. That's it. No he said, she said, no, nothing like that. All motions include the name of the person making the motion. So if Susie steps up and say, I, Susie, move, so you'll include her name, and then whether it is adopted or fails. The result of any elections and program notes. Time of adjournment, you're gonna start at 7 o'clock or 6:30 or 3 o'clock, and you're going to end at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Start the meetings on time, end the meetings on time, which means you need to be there on time, because literally the meeting doesn't start without you, because they can't start the meeting unless you're there to take the minutes for the meeting. So this is really, really important. Work with your president. In your bylaws, what day your meetings are is already determined. It's the third Wednesday of the month. It's the fourth Wednesday of the month. It's the third Friday of the month. It's whatever it is for your school. But what time those meetings are is up to the executive board. So work with your principal, work with your president to determine a time that works the best for the majority of you. But bottom line, you and the president have to be there at the start of the meeting. And you will sign all of your, John Hancock time, you will sign and date all of your minutes. Here is a correction. Susie King moved Sunshine PTA purchased a new microphone for the use at PTA meetings, and she would prefer to be called Sue. So that's an example of a correction. And here is an example of minutes. I'm trying to move some things around. Whoop. Chat, where are we? Can someone sub in for the secretary? Absolutely. At the beginning of the meeting, if the secretary is not there, and I do this quite a bit on my end at the district level, my secretary is running late, she's stuck in traffic, is what it is. I will assign someone else to do the minutes until the secretary arrives. If the secretary is not going to be there for the entire meeting, well then the substitute is it for the entire meeting. Let me just go through, oopsie, come back. You'll notice at the top here, it has everyone that attended the meeting. The executive board meeting is strictly for the executive board. Anyone else coming in is by invitation only. And they're usually just presenting something and then leaving. You will include the treasurer's report. You can staple it to it, or you can actually clip and cut and put it right in, but your minutes will include the treasurer's report. Heather Gray, auditor, moved to adopt the audit report covering the period from January through June. Adopted. They didn't discuss when Heather presented the audit. She also said, and we need to do this better, we need to do that better. But bottom line is the audit was adopted. There were no recommendations on audit findings. That never happens. Green moved the adoption of the Sunshine Elementary budget. Then they probably had discussion on that, but you don't include the discussion. It was a motion, it was adopted. You kind of see how this goes. You're not including a discussion. This is not a transcript. This is just the decisions that were made. Okay, between meetings. Prepare minutes promptly. This one's important. I strongly recommend doing the minutes at the meeting if you're doing it and then just sending it right off to the president. Stay for 5 extra minutes to clean things up and send it off to her. The further you get away from the meeting, the harder it is for you to remember what was said. Pro tem by executive board does include the parliamentary, the procedure. All of those people are invited to your executive board meetings. Your parliamentarian is at all of the parliamentarian is part of your executive board, your principal is part of your executive board, and the membership committee, that depends on your unit and how you structure things, but usually they're part of your executive board also. Okay. What else? Wow, that rocked. I'm gonna open up the floor. Let's see what we've got question-wise. I'm going to stop my screen share, go back here. Yes, and Kimberly, you are so right on that one. Do not include the entire committee. You want to have one person. If you've got a committee out there, and again, your president will set these things up. just the committee chair would come to an executive board meeting to present a report if that was necessary. Normally they'll present their reports at the association meetings, and then the entire committee should come, because you want everybody to come to your association meetings. You need to meet quorum, and you want as many people to come to your meetings as possible. The last side, you said sign authorization for payment. Can you explain that? Oh gosh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question. I did the treasurer training. This is not an area of expertise for me. There are payment authorization forms that you download off the California State PTA website. That is capta.org, and it is under forms, payment authorization. So let's say we have our fall festival, and Susie did a motion at our last association meeting to go buy said napkins for the fall festival, and she made a motion to spend up to $25 on green napkins for the fall festival. She goes to Smart and Final, she buys those napkins, she brings back a receipt. I'm going to say that one more time or 6 more times. She brings back a receipt. If she doesn't have a receipt, she just made a lovely donation, and she should be thanked for that. When she brings back her receipt, she will print one of those payment authorization forms off of the California PTA website, or you'll have a couple of copies available because you're a nice secretary and you just happen to be super organized and you brought some with you. And then she will submit her receipts to the treasurer with that payment authorization form, and you will also sign that. And that is one of the best things. Yes, thank you. I was about to say that. That is one of the best things about PTA. If you are following all the rules, the checks and balances, you know where the money is. The treasurer knows where the money is. The president knows where the money is. You are all responsible for where the money is. So if Susie brings back a receipt for $50, but we only authorized up to $25, you need to know that, because you have your minutes handy. And remember, Susie, we only authorized up to $25. And if you want payment for the additional sum, we're going to have to put a motion to a vote with the association. And all of that information has got to be kept for your audit. And does everybody here know what I mean by audit? An audit is the checks and balances we do every 6 months. We do our first audit in January, and it covers from July 1st to December 31st. And there's just the audit checklist, AUD checklist. Download that off the California PTA website, and it actually tells you everything you're supposed to be doing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a punishment. Again, back to there's no PTA police. If you haven't been keeping minutes that included all of the motions, when you do your audit, your auditor's going to go through it going, oh, we didn't have a motion for the fall festival. Now you know. Moving forward, we'll put a motion in there approving the association said we should do a fall festival. Your audits are just a reminder of how to do things properly. None of us know it all. None of us can remember everything all the time. None of us is perfect. And the audit just keeps us on track and tells us the things that are important so that we're following all of the IRS rules, that we are making sure we're paying our taxes and all that kind of good stuff. Any other questions you want to throw out onto the chat box?
Barbara, can I go ahead and say something?
Absolutely.
I'm the secretary at Nobel currently. When I do our meeting minutes, I make all of our motions in bold and kind of highlight them. So when I print them out and they're in the minute book, then it's very easy for me to go back and find where was that minute, because you know, everything I'm looking for as far as a motion is standing out, right, as I'm going through back minutes. Additionally, I take copies of everything, because your minutes are a permanent record. They are something that, you know, your treasurer stuff has 7 years that you have to keep it. Minutes are forever. And so I have copies, you know, if we presented the audit at that meeting, it's going in my minutes. If they said, oh, we did the taxes, fine, let me have a copy of those and put in the minutes, right? Anything that you have that's important, take it and put it in your minute book, because it's forever. And so then possibly when you've had turnover somewhere else, you can go back and find it in your minutes.
And that's what's so important. To be honest, as a new PTA 31st District President, I went back to kind of get a sense of the history. I was able to go back to 1953 when the 31st District was established. And it let me have an insight into our music scholarship program and the women who started out and established the 31st District. Your minutes are forever, and they are the history of your unit. So please take this job and opportunity seriously, and keep the gossip off your minutes. And again, if somebody ever asks you why PTA, it's because you have people like Kimberly, who is my past 31st District PTSA president, who's still involved at her child's middle school as their secretary. I also have Colleen Ross here on this call. She is the past 31st District PTSA president. I stand on their shoulders proudly, and they support me. I hope that within your own executive boards, you have that also, where you shift jobs, or you support each other, or you use all of your professional and personal experience that you bring to the table to make your PTA units amazing and successful. Any other questions or concerns or stuff you want to share with the group? Okay, how long do we have to keep documents for? We have boxes and boxes. If your boxes and boxes become unmanageable, you can bring them to the 31st District office, but minutes are forever. So I would cull through what you have boxes and boxes of. The IRS wants everything for 7 years, so make sure you have a minimum of that. Kimberly, help me out on this one. With the RRFs, have we gone back any further than 7 years for taxes?
I mean, there's IRS rules and regulations that you shouldn't have to go back farther than that. But I think with the RRF ones, which is the state attorney general, yes, then they have gone back further as they're cleaning up things.
Wow.
So, but there again, your treasurers and presidents all got history on putting everything in PTA Easy.
Right.
And uploading those documents so that it's another place that they can live in the cloud, and hopefully we can find them if needed.
Rocio, again, if you have boxes and boxes, I would review those boxes. It would be nice to keep a flyer from the Fall Festival from last year. You don't need to keep 100 of them. You know what I mean? You could probably cull down some of those boxes quite a bit. Anybody else? All right, wow, okay. I will make sure that you get a copy of this presentation, and I will also send you a link to the audit checklist, payment authorization, and your job description off the California PTA website. Please, please, please use the California PTA website. Please check out the 31st District PTA website, and please follow us on social media. Thank you. At 31st Dist PTSA. We would love, we're sending out, I'm working with LAUSD, and every time I get an update from them, I am posting it on our social media, so you can hear it first and you can hear it fast if you're following us on social media. So let's see, that's 31st DIST PTSA. Go find us out on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and we are here for you. If you have any challenges with someone on your executive board, talk to your president. If you are unsuccessful there, you can talk to your council president. If you are unsuccessful there, you can come talk to me. We are here for you. This is why PTA, because there are layers of people to help you address any issues or concerns you might have at your units. Thank you so much for coming. We so appreciate your time. We so appreciate you stepping up to help out your units. Thank you for coming. That's it.